SIMBI Family Episode 2. The sun shone brightly through the windows of the SIMBI household. Mama SIMBI hummed her favourite hymn in the kitchen as the smell of pancakes filled the room. Ruthie, wearing a soft white blouse and her favourite blue skirt, sat at the dining table. Her sketchbook was on the table, though closed tightly after Jonah's antics the day before. Her pencil tapped nervously as her thoughts drifted to Paul and the events of the previous evening. Jonah sauntered into the room, already grinning. "Still thinking about last night's choir practice, Ruthie?" he teased, plopping into a chair and grabbing some toast. "Not everything's a joke, Jonah," she replied, rolling her eyes but hugging the sketchbook closer. Before Jonah could retort, a sharp knock interrupted the moment. Everyone turned toward the door. "Who's knocking this early?" Papa SIMBI muttered, setting his mug down and walking to the door. When he opened it, no one was there. Instead, a folded piece of paper rested on the welcome mat. His brow furrowed as he bent to pick it up. "What is it?" Mama SIMBI asked from the kitchen, peeking around the corner. Papa SIMBI unfolded the note, his voice steady as he read aloud. "To the SIMBI family. A challenge awaits at the choir meeting this evening. Be prepared for surprises." The room fell silent. Ruthie's heart sank. Could Jonah's prank from yesterday have made someone upset? Or was this related to the conversation she overheard between Sister Mabel and Pastor Josiah about choir leadership? "A challenge?" Mama SIMBI echoed, wiping her hands on her apron. "Who could have sent this?" Jonah grinned, but stayed silent, his eyes darting mischievously toward Ruthie. Ruthie, catching the look, glared at him. "You wouldn't dare, would you?" Jonah feigned innocence. "Why do you always think it's me?" Papa SIMBI sighed, placing the note on the table. "Whatever it is, we'll handle it together. Let's not overthink." Mama SIMBI nodded, but exchanged a glance with Ruthie. Something about the note unsettled them both. As the day wore on, Ruthie couldn't shake the feeling that Jonah was up to something. After the notebook incident from episode 1, she didn't trust him not to pull another prank. In Jonah's room, the mischievous boy had indeed hatched a plan. He sat cross-legged on the floor, sorting through a box of leftover prank items. The rubber snakes caught his eye, and he snickered. "This will be even better than yesterday," he muttered to himself. Meanwhile, Ruthie sat on her bed, sketching lightly in her notebook. Her sketches were no longer carefree, but filled with doodles of question marks and symbols of confusion. She thought about Paul and the tension she'd noticed among the choir members the day before. Mama SIMBI appeared in Ruthie's doorway. "Are you ready for tonight?" Ruthie nodded, though her voice wavered. "What if the challenge is something bad, Mama? What if it's about me?" Mama SIMBI sat beside her, smoothing Ruthie's blonde curls. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together. Remember, God doesn't give us more than we can handle." Ruthie smiled faintly, but her heart remained heavy. The SIMBI family arrived at the church, and the atmosphere was noticeably different from the usual cheerful buzz. People whispered in small groups, and Ruthie felt eyes on her as she walked to her seat. The mysterious note seemed to have spread among the choir members, creating an air of anticipation. Jonah, however, was unfazed. He slipped toward the hallway with his small box, a sly grin plastered on his face. Papa SIMBI clapped his hands, calling for order. "Before we begin tonight's rehearsal, we need to address something," he said, holding up the note. "Does anyone know who left this at our door this morning?" The room fell silent. Sister Mabel raised her hand slowly. "I saw someone near the church yesterday evening, but I couldn't tell who it was." "Could it have been a kid?" Pastor Josiah asked, glancing at Jonah, who had just re-entered the room. Jonah's innocent expression was a little too perfect. Ruthie squinted at him, her suspicions growing. As the choir began rehearsing, Jonah's moment arrived. From the hallway, a loud bang interrupted the song. Mama SIMBI gasped. "What was that?" The choir members rushed toward the sound, finding a wooden box on the floor. Ruthie's heart raced. Jonah grinned as Papa SIMBI cautiously opened the box. Out tumbled a collection of colourful rubber snakes, drawing screams, laughter, and a few groans from the group. "Jonah SIMBI!" Mama SIMBI exclaimed, hands on her hips. Jonah couldn't contain his laughter. "It's just a little fun, you all seemed so serious." Ruthie was mortified. "You're unbelievable," she muttered, walking away. Pastor Josiah stepped forward, chuckling softly. "Pranks, Jonah? Timing is everything." Jonah looked down, his laughter fading. "I'm sorry," he said genuinely. "I didn't mean to upset anyone." The pastor addressed the group. "This is a reminder for us all. In faith and family, we forgive and grow together." "Jonah," Papa Simbi began, "while we appreciate your creativity, perhaps you could channel it into something more productive next time?" Jonah grinned. "Like becoming the next choir director?" The family burst into laughter, even Ruthie cracking a smile. As the evening ended, Papa Simbi led the family in prayer. "Lord, thank you for lessons in forgiveness, love and patience. May we continue to grow as a family." "Amen," they all said in unison, their hearts lighter as they faced the days ahead together. It was a peaceful Saturday morning, but the Simbi household was anything but quiet. Mama Simbi hummed a cheerful hymn in the kitchen, flipping pancakes for breakfast. The aroma of fresh coffee filled the air as Papa Simbi reclined in his favourite chair, reading the morning paper. Ruthie sat at the dining table, absent-mindedly stirring her tea. Her curly golden hair framed her face as she stared at her untouched plate. Across from her, Jonah shuffled a deck of cards with an air of exaggerated nonchalance. "Why do you always look guilty, even when you're not doing anything?" Ruthie asked, breaking the silence. Jonah grinned. "Maybe because I'm always up to something?" Ruthie rolled her eyes. "That's nothing to be proud of, Jonah. You embarrassed us all at the choir meeting." Before Jonah could defend himself, his foot was against something under the table. "What the?" He bent down and emerged holding a crumpled piece of paper. "Look what I found," he declared triumphantly. Ruthie's heart skipped a beat. She recognized the note instantly. "Give that to me," she demanded, reaching for it. Jonah held it above his head. "Whoa, why so eager, sis? Is this a love letter?" "Jonah!" Ruthie yelled, her cheeks flushing. Mama Simbi appeared in the doorway, hands on her hips. "What is going on here? Jonah, stop teasing your sister and help set the table." Reluctantly, Jonah handed the note to Ruthie. But before she could hide it, Papa Simbi walked into the room, his sharp eyes immediately zeroed in on the crumpled paper. "What's that?" he asked, his tone curious but firm. Ruthie hesitated, clutching the note nervously. "It's nothing, Papa." "Let me see," he said, extending his hand. With a sigh of resignation, Ruthie handed it over. Papa Simbi smoothed out the paper, his expression growing serious as he read the words. "This handwriting," he muttered. "It looks familiar." After breakfast, Papa Simbi gathered the family in the living room. The note lay on the coffee table like an unwelcome guest. "I've been thinking about this message," Papa Simbi began. "The handwriting reminds me of someone, but I want to hear from you two first." His gaze landed on Jonah and Ruthie. Jonah raised his hands defensively. "Don't look at me. I didn't write it." "Then why were you so interested in it earlier?" Ruthie countered. "Because you looked so guilty." Jonah shot back. "Enough!" Mama Simbi interjected. "Both of you stop pointing fingers and tell us the truth." Ruthie took a deep breath. "I didn't write it either, but I think I know why someone might have sent it. Jonah's prank at the choir meeting probably upset someone, and this is their way of getting back at us." Jonah frowned. "It was just a little fireworks prank. Nobody got hurt." Papa Simbi shook his head. "Pranks might seem harmless to you, Jonah, but they can hurt people in ways you don't see." A heavy silence fell over the room as the weight of his words sank in. Later that evening, the family arrived at the church for choir.